morning! Welcome! It is Broken, that morning thing that we do. I'm Father Jeff, consecrated by holy orders, drinking his coffee.
I'm Jonathan, consecrated by baptism.
Drinking an empty glass of water.
I finished my water on the way here.
You should hydrate, Jonathan, in the mornings.
I do. I finished my water on the way here.
All right. Very good. I'm glad. I'm happy. I'm still drinking my coffee.
And see that they say coffee dehydrates.
It is a little bit of a dehydrator, but look at all that liquid in there. That's a lot of wet.
That's true.
I'm putting a lot of wet into my body, so I must be hydrating in some way, shape, or form. That's what I'm thinking of.
It's gotta be.
It's gotta be. Why not? Look at that. Wet. And hot. How are you doing?
Good.
It is Thursday, October 22nd.
October 22nd.
You know what that means?
It is no longer 1 month since my birthday.
Well, yes. Everything revolves around you, Jonathan.
I'm glad you finally realized it.
Oh,
it only took 7 months.
It is the feast day of Pope St. John Paul II.
Yes.
It's a great day. This was normally saints are their saint days are the day that they died, the day they enter into eternity. Mm-hmm. But they didn't do that for John Paul II because if you remember, he died right there in Easter week. He died on Divine Mercy Sunday, or the Vigil of back in the day years ago. And because of that, because Easter's always moving, and you have Holy Week and Easter week, his feast day would likely disappear many years in a row because of where Holy Week and Easter week land. And the church didn't want that to happen. So they put his feast day on his election day.
Habemus Papam.
Habemus Papam. Hit the accent.
Habemus Papam.
There you go.
That was close.
Look at you speaking all the Latin. We have a pope. I think it was his election day. Maybe it was his inauguration day. Let's say it was his election day. Yeah.
We'll clarify.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was his election day. And yeah, so he was elected in 1978, I believe, the year of 3 popes. We had Paul VI, who died earlier in that year. And then they elected John Paul I, who died after 33 days.
What happened? Was it... I'm not sure. So natural causes or...
Massive heart attack is what the I think the records indicate. That he went to bed that night, and when the sister who took care of the houses, when she went in to bring him his morning tea or his morning whatever, she found him dead in bed of a massive heart attack, I believe. Wow. He did not predict... it was crazy that he didn't think that he would be Pope for very long. It was interesting because when he chose his name, John Paul, I think he actually named himself John Paul I. Which is odd because nobody names themselves the first. It's a moniker that you get only when there is a second. It's like we don't say Pope Francis the First because there is no other Pope Francis.
Or just like a person, it wouldn't be Jonathan Sanchez Hidalgo Sr. if there's no junior.
If there's no junior, exactly. So it was odd because I think when he did choose his name, he was officially John Paul I. I think. This is my recollection. And he chided the cardinals. He says, "Oh, may God forgive you what you have done by electing me." Now, he may have just said that because, oh my God, now I'm Pope. And that's not an enviable thing. But then they elected John Paul II, and he wanted to continue on with the legacy of John the 23rd and Paul the 6th and the work of now realizing the Second Vatican Council and what does all of this mean, and let's start thinking about it. And John Paul, who's not the Great, but many people would like to see him named John Paul the Great, really, or a doctor of the church. I think he should be named a doctor of the church because of the amount of stuff he added to the church's magisterial teachings.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody any pope or any body in recent memory has added nearly that amount.
Well, he was one of the longest reigning popes in history, certainly in the modern era. I think he was number 3 or 4. He's certainly in the top 5. That's the guess.
But all of the, everything he put out.
He did. I mean, he redid the Code of Canon Law. He redid the Roman Missal. He redid the Catechism of the Catholic Church. He wrote a bazillion encyclicals and letters and speeches and teachings and instituted World Youth Day. And oh yeah, I mean, he did so many things that we just take for granted now as what the modern papacy looks like, and it really hinges on the work that he did. He was, basically the only pope that I knew in all of my childhood and young adult years.
That's actually
all the way
my first, and I think I mentioned it on the show before, but my first memory of Catholicism was I lived in a condo, something. Mexico City's crazy.
You were in Mexico City?
Yeah, so I was born in Mexico City, lived there.
Big town.
For about 3.5 years. It makes New York and Los Angeles seem small. We'll just put it that way.
They call it the Big Enchilada.
Yeah, I think the surrounding areas, everything else,
it goes on forever. It's like, I forget how many.
But it's like 20 million. If you take the suburban and rural areas, it's about 20 million people.
That's a lot of people in one spot.
And anyways, so I had to go upstairs with my friends because the El Papa was on TV.
Oh.
The Pope.
Yeah.
And so I remember seeing him going upstairs and watching. I don't know who he was, but it was El Papa.
What was it? Was he in Mexico?
I don't know if he was in Mexico. I have no clue.
You have no idea. You just remember.
So it would have been between 85 and 88. So if he was there, maybe.
I don't know. He went everywhere.
My first, well, he was one of the first popes to actually be mobile, right?
Yes.
If not the first to actually.
He wasn't the first. I think Paul VI was really kind of the first pilgrim pope.
Okay.
Who started going places really kind of on a regular basis. But John Paul II took it to a whole new level. The globe-trotting pope, as they would call him. He didn't quite do that. His cassock would get in the way. It's hard to bounce the ball between your legs when you got the cassock on.
He probably could have done it though.
Oh, he was an athlete. He was everything.
If anyone could have,
John Paul II could have done that. So we ask him to intercede and pray for the church these days as a great shepherd and pastor of the flock looking down from heaven.
I thought we were just going to talk about him the whole time.
We could. There's lots to talk about.
There's so much.
But no, we have other things to talk about, Jonathan.
Oh, we're still in the middle of a toast. How rude of us.
We're interrupting a toast. Back to C.S. Lewis, the Screwtape letters, and the appendix. We are in probably the penultimate day of this journey.
I vote that we should continue.
But we're going to run out of pages. We could talk about this blank page.
Oh, no, for 2 days. I just mean for 2 days.
I see what you're saying. I got it.
I'm voting that we should continue.
Oh, my goodness. But you're voting, Jonathan?
I'm voting.
You are talking right about what Screwtape is talking about here. Look at you make that transition. So yesterday, we left off in the middle of this toast kind of talking about how in the modern world, it seems that the best course of temptation is not necessarily individual temptation, like let me just tempt you, because as it turns out, people like to be followers. They don't like to stand out, particularly in the modern era.
If I'm going to be the only one, no way.
So rather than aiming for individual temptations, Screwtape started talking about what are the societal temptations that we can move whole nations or whole peoples or cultures along together. Let's get them to be tempted together. And so today, he moves into the concept of democracy and how democracy can have two meanings to it. Mm-hmm. I mean, the one hand, when you talk about democracy as a political reality, a political system, where it says here a system of voting, but it's really not what we want as a temptation. So democracy, he's not saying democracy, of course, is a bad thing. We must never allow them to raise Aristotle's question whether democratic behavior means the behavior that democracies like or the behavior that will preserve a democracy. So we don't want him to think about the rights and responsibilities of a citizen in a people to society and that kind of democracy.
Right.
That's not the kind of democracy we're talking about. We're talking about this idea that we live in a democracy. There is no king. We were talking about that yesterday. Mm-hmm. There is no everyone is equal. And that's kind of the foundation of our founding document, that
Right.
we believe that all men are created equal, I believe is how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've heard that.
We hold these truths to be self-evident.
We do.
Just like Hamilton
That's a big
says.
statement. Just like... I think he rapped it. Or at least did it with a beat. So democracy. You are to use the word purely as an incantation. Purely for its selling power. So we don't necessarily want to we don't want to connect it to the political ideal that all men should be equally treated. That's what that democratic principle is. But rather, the factual belief that all men are equal. Now that is an interesting proposition. Are we equal, Jonathan?
In what way?
Aha! Why do you ask that question? Why can't you just answer it yes or no?
Well, so back in high school,
Yes.
my uncle was actually my teacher.
Okay.
But he liked to bring this just up. That men and women are not equal.
I don't understand.
Well, we are physiologically, biologically different. Thus, we cannot be equal.
You cannot be equal.
Now, do we have the same human dignity and all of those things? Yes. In that sense, we are equal.
Correct.
But we are made different. We have different things that we do, and that's okay. Naturally, and I don't think even non-naturally, a man will never give birth to a human being.
Well, they're working on it.
I know they're working on it, but that's why I said I think unnaturally.
Yeah,
I think,
exactly.
It
is not natural. I am not as equal in my ability to generate life as your wife is, or any woman out there.
Correct.
That is not going to happen.
Correct.
We are not equal in our ability to speak Spanish.
No.
You
I am superior.
You speak it pretty well. I've heard you. Sometimes he comes in on the phone and he's
Yapping.
doing
blabbing.
things.
Yeah. And that's okay. That's what makes this world go round. That's what makes this work. If we were all equal, we would have never made any advances in science, technology, in life, in farming.
Yeah, I am glad that there are people who are more versed in physics, who are more versed in chemistry, who we were talking about basketball before. We are not all equal in our ability to play basketball or any sport or any ability to play piano or to do math or to sing or to... and the list goes on and on and on and on. We are not equal.
Right, and I think we take those things, like basketball or piano, and say, oh, well, of course we're not equal. There's people far greater than me. But that's how it is in every aspect of life.
But even that becomes a point of contention, because if I'm sitting there watching my kid play, I get upset when they are not given as much time on the field or on the court as perhaps maybe a better player is given, because they should be treated equally. I mean, there you start to see the tension.
And that's where then you have to recognize as a parent, what are you in that league for?
Yeah.
Are you, if it's my kindergarten, I, did micro soccer this year. It's over now, but...
Right. A micro season.
I tried to get everybody the same amount of playing time because I didn't care if we won or lost. I mean, we went undefeated, but
all the kids are undefeated.
But I didn't care if we went. I didn't care if we won or lost because I wanted them to all improve and get better.
Right.
The score did not matter. Now, once you get into maybe even middle school, high school, then winning matters a little bit more. If your kid's not just not as good.
Competitive sport, competitive anything is not built for that. That's what the rehearsals are for. That's what practices are for. That's what, taking your kid out and throwing the ball back and forth for on the weekends. That's what that's for. Competitive stuff is a totally different thing. Yeah. Not everybody can have the same role on the stage. You're going to want to give your best singer and actor probably the main role and not some bit part, and then, someone else who can't memorize 3 lines in a row, the main part. No matter how much they enjoy it. Isn't that what it's about?
Some people are meant to be the tree.
I don't know what that means. Oh, I know what that means. Like if you were the actor on stage, we're thinking elementary school play. I'm like, I don't understand, Jonathan. Yeah, so you're right. We are not equal, but there is the temptation then that you have to almost make people understand that democracy means all people are equal.
In every way.
In every way, not just in dignity. Of course we're equal in human dignity. And of course we're equal in worth. And we should not be discriminated against because of that. But in terms of my ability to play basketball, a coach is going to discriminate between the kids. You have to. We do that all the time. A promotion in a job, you are going to be discriminated against based on your abilities and what you have proven your work to be. So inequality is not a bad thing.
Right. No, even with that, the way I tried to line up the kids on the soccer team was I didn't put all the really good players together on the field at the same time and then all the bad players. I tried to mix it up to make it kind of even.
Right.
So that
you balance the inequalities.
There you
and
go.
Inequality is not a bad thing. So what Screwtape then goes on and says that, I love this line, he says, no one who says, I'm as good as you, really believes it. And he would not say it if he did. That this is, and he gives these examples that a St. Bernard never says that it is a toy dog. A scholar doesn't say this to the dunce. The person who's employable to a bum, you can tell he's writing at a different age in his political correctness there, and so on and so forth. But that there isn't this, fundamentally deep down, we really know the truth, but it's almost like it's been masked over, that we can't speak that truth.
Right.
And this goes back to the temptation of an institution or a collective or a national identity or whatever. The claim to equality outside the strictly political field, where we are all of equal dignity and should have an equal vote and equal voice, is made only by those who feel themselves to be in some way inferior. There's a story I remember reading. It was a short story that we read in our English book in high school, Flowers for Algernon. Have you ever heard that? Have you read it?
No.
No, your uncle didn't teach it to you.
He taught world religions.
That's why he didn't teach it to you. Flowers for Algernon was a story about a kind of dystopian society. And I don't remember exactly all of the ins and outs of it. But it was a society where they strove for equality. So those people in society who were graceful had to wear weights on their ankles so that they would clump around and be a little more normal. Those people who were smart or geniuses had to wear an earpiece that would interrupt their thoughts every, 30 seconds or whatnot, so they couldn't put together any greater thought than anybody else had. Those who were beautiful had to mar their faces or wear masks so that they wouldn't intimidate the uglies.
Wow.
So, yeah, and this was kind of the way the story went. And I think this the main character in this story, he was some kind of a savant or some kind of something. And I don't remember the story that well, but I do remember that detail about it. And it really kind of speaks to this, that there is this we can't let people rise above other people in any way, shape, or form. We have to maintain equality at all costs. This twisted version of equality.
Sure.
So he talks about, he says, presently, a person suspects every mere difference to be a claim to superiority. No one must be different from himself in voice, clothes, manners, recreations, choice of food, etc. This is the way I think, and if you have a contrary opinion, we can't stand for that. That's going to mess up society if you believe something different. If you don't share the same viewpoint, if you don't have the same preferences, if you don't like the same whatevers, we can't have that kind of difference. We can't have that. That's intolerable. Cannot have it. And that's the great irony, I think, to a lot of people who preach tolerance today. That those who preach tolerance the loudest or the most loudly are usually the most intolerant.
It's true.
It is true. They want you to be tolerant, but that means to see things the way I see things and to believe what I believe. And if you don't, if you hold a contrary opinion, I can't handle that. You're being intolerant for having a contrary opinion.
It got lost where, I think it was Chris Stefanik mentioned, we tolerate the cold here in Nebraska in the winters. And the hot summer with the humidity, we tolerate them. That means we still live with it and we tolerate it. We don't like it because you only tolerate things you don't like.
Right.
When you disagree with someone, that does not mean you're intolerant.
Exactly.
You know, it's, do I disagree with people on political things? Of course I do.
Sure.
Am I doing anything actively to suppress that or something? Maybe sometimes when it's really bad. Like abortion.
Yeah.
But that person, tolerance is not the word we are looking for.
Jesus didn't call us to tolerance.
No.
He called us to charity.
Yes.
Love your enemy. Love your neighbor. He didn't say tolerate your enemies and tolerate your neighbors. Tolerance is not a virtue.
No, you're not loving. If you're tolerating, you are not loving.
No, I'm just putting up with you until I can get you out of my face.
Yeah, it's just casting you to the side. It is
Exactly.
That is being lukewarm.
We don't want that. And that is what is bred underneath this sense of we have to treat everyone equally in the sense that there can be no differences. You know, it's what leads to that generation of giving everyone an award so that nobody feels left out. Giving everyone a whatever so that nobody feels badly about themselves.
Right.
We don't want people to notice their differences. We don't want you to notice that you can't sing as well or that you sing exceptionally well. I mean, it really cuts both ways.
It does.
That it's like, well, maybe that's not my talent and I should look for something else. But if I really enjoy it, I should do that and realize I'm not going to get a college scholarship for my singing abilities or my baseball abilities. But I really enjoy it. Great. Enjoy it. Just don't do it competitively.
Join a
perhaps. Club. Yeah, join a club where you can share those things.
Then it's also good to let people know that. It's like, hey, dude, this probably is not going to be a career path for you. Don't hinge your hopes on getting that scholarship. Because it's not coming.
0.5% or whatever the heck of all college athletes will ever make a career out of it. I mean, it's a teeny tiny bit, and yet there are, parents right now who are enrolling their kids in micro soccer because they want them to get that college scholarship to go and play soccer and then make a career out of it.
Yeah.
Look at what you are doing, Jonathan, feeding the beast.
You know what? I want my kids to lose because they need to learn how to lose.
It's an important.
We need to learn how to.
It is an important lesson.
The rejection, loss, all of those things are things we need to learn. And as kids is the best place to learn it because if you don't learn it until you're my age, heaven help us.
You have to learn how to lose gracefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, not get all
and
whatever.
Turn that adversity, just in life, turn that adversity into something positive.
Yeah.
Well, why did we lose? Oh, well, you let the guy go past you and he scored a goal.
You can't do that.
So let's practice and get better so the next time you face that adversity, you can overcome it and persevere. Let's go.
That's a virtue. Perseverance is a virtue. Equality for the sake of equality, banal equality is not a virtue.
I mean, Screwtape would enjoy that.
He would love it. I mean, he's all over this stuff. It breeds the vice of envy. So that we look around and we see that, oh my gosh, I am not equal, and that causes me to hate. It causes me to envy, to be jealous, that I can't do what you do. I'm not as eloquent as that person, or I'm not as strong as that person, or I'm not as tall as that person, or I'm not as whatever as that person. And we just start then, rather than celebrating the strengths and the graces of other people, we start to hate them, or maybe even be envious of them.
Yeah.
And it it really narrows our world and begins to cut us off from each other, because now we can't join together because I can't.
Not
do
only
what
are you
do.
bringing them down, you're tearing yourself down and not celebrating what makes you unique and what gifts you have. Because I guarantee you, there is nobody in the world that is absolutely better at everything than you are.
No.
At everything.
And there will always be someone who is better than you at something. Always. So
at some point in time,
you are never going to be the best, and if you are, you're not going to be the best for long. That is just the way it goes. Those who are in any way or every way inferior can labor more wholeheartedly and successfully than ever before to pull down everyone else to their own level. So if I find that I can't do what you do, I can find ways to pull you down to keep you from excelling so that I feel better about myself. And we do this all the time. Mm-hmm. You know, misery loves company. That's the thing, that it's like, well, I'm just going to sit here and sulk that I can't do whatever, and then I'm going to just drag everyone down to that level so at least I can feel that I'm not a loser.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. I have some interior work to do there. Maybe you do, and this affects kids all the time, and he speaks about this coming up here. But that is a real sense of dealing with self-esteem issues. And you can look around and compare yourself, and that's part of the problem of comparison. You start to compare yourself to others, and you can really have either a low self-esteem, or you can get puffed up in pride and become an egotist. That when I start comparing, it doesn't really lead me down a happy path.
No, it never can. I don't think.
No, we're not. Yeah, we're not called to compare ourselves to others. We're called to compare ourselves against Jesus Christ. He's our measuring rod, and you have to measure yourself to Him, not to these other people. Okay. The people who really... So then he goes on and says, here's the danger, or this is actually what they want. This is what the evil one wants. That people are offered grace all the time by God to be honest, to be chaste, to be temperate. But they refuse these graces because it might make them different. And it might offend other people's way of life and the togetherness that we have and our ability to enter into the group. And they might, horror of horrors, become individuals. That I don't want to stand out. I just want to blend in. And this is what happens in junior high.
That's
this is what
pressure.
happens in elementary school. Yeah. I don't want to blossom into this beautiful thing that God created me to be, because I am going to stand out as different from you. If I am in a field of daisies and I spring up as a sunflower, I'm going to be stared at and, laughed at or look, whatever, and not celebrate the fact that I'm 7 feet tall and have this head full of sunflower seeds. And you're just little daisies that are trailing around the ground. It doesn't make sense when we really step back and think of it, but we've all had that experience and we've all been there. And standing out can be one of the hardest things to do.
And that's why support and community is so vital. Exactly.
So find people who celebrate you for who you are, not because you're the same as them, but because you're different, and they celebrate those differences, and those are good things, because then that lifts everyone up. Human excellence. He says, the evil one here says, I want to fix your attention on the vast overall movement towards the discrediting and the elimination of every kind of human excellence, moral, cultural, social, intellectual, etc. That's really at the heart of democracy. We don't want anybody to excel in a way that makes other people feel bad or to stand out. And if you can do this on the sociological level, that is going to have a great impact upon so many. There was an article I copied one time, and I used it in my senior class, theology philosophy class, and I think it was, it was the title, it was like something about the greatness of being weird, or something like that. It's, the celebrate, like you need to, whatever makes you weird and that causes you to stand out, you need to fly that flag. Like this is not a bad thing to stand out if it's me. And so it was, basically let your freak flag fly. And it's like I am a little bit of a freak. I'm a weirdo, and I'm okay with that.
You can speak for yourself.
Jonathan, I know I'm not normal.
All I pictured was this little kid that sits in the corner and picks his boogers. The weird kid in the corner. Not you. I was not thinking of you. I was thinking of no in particular.
The weird
child.
kid in the corner. That's you. That was you. Maybe it was you.
I am weird, but
I don't mind being weird. I just think unique.
Unique. Let's use unique instead of weird, because weird could be a really bad. Like,
you could go. Yeah, it could be. It could go bad. Yeah. How about there's a word. It's a big word, and I can't think of the word. It's escaping my mind right now. Eccentric.
Oh, eccentric.
Little eccentricity never hurt anyone.
Yeah.
Maybe it did. I don't know. I suppose if you're collecting fingernails in a jar in your house, then that might be a little eccentric and odd.
See, the end goal of that is not good.
Yeah, exactly.
The end goal of that.
Whatever that is, it's not good. All right,
moving on.
So we kind of get to the flowers for Algernon, statement here that I talked about before. That the plan is always no preeminence. Let no one be wiser or better or more famous or handsomer or anything than the mass. Everyone must be equal. And you just keep pounding home this democracy, this idea of democracy that really kind of levels the playing field and allows nobody to rise up. And when nobody rises up, we all fall down.
Rise up.
Oh yeah, here we go again. That was a thing.
There could have been so many things with Hamilton.
Oh, was that in Hamilton?
That was in Hamilton.
I remember these things not. And if you don't know, if you haven't seen Hamilton or watched it, it's a musical about the birth of the nation and the stuff that was going on.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I enjoyed it.
That's good.
Okay, Jonathan, we got one more day of Screwtape letters. Screwtape proposes a toast, and then we'll shift gears. I said we'd probably talk about today. We didn't. We'll tell you tomorrow. Bye.